Okay, let's talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. But here's the thing, we're not just talking about a football player, are we? I mean, this guy is a global institution, a one-man empire. He's maybe one of the most incredible studies in human potential we've ever seen. So the real question is, how did he pull it off? How does a kid from a tiny Portuguese island build all this? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
So what's with this number? 650 million and counting. Well, that's his follower count on social media. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire population of North America. It literally makes him the most followed human being on the planet. Think about that. He has a direct line, a personal broadcast channel, to almost 10% of everyone on Earth.
Which brings us right back to the big question, right? How does that happen? How does a boy from a small island become a global king? There has to be a blueprint, an architectural design for this kind of insane success. And let me tell you, it's not just about talent, and it's definitely not about luck. No, it's a system, and we're about to take it apart piece by piece.
All right, Section 1, Forging an Unbreakable Mind. We're looking at the roots of his resilience from 1985 to 1997. You know, to really get who this guy is, you have to go all the way back to the beginning, because that superhuman mental toughness he has, it wasn't born in some fancy stadium. Oh no, it was forged in the fire of a really, really tough childhood. See, Ronaldo wasn't born with a silver spoon, far from it. His childhood was all about survival, growing up with very little money on the Portuguese island of Madeira. His dad was a gardener, his mom was a cook. For him, football wasn't just a game, you know? It was his only refuge, his escape. He'd be out on the streets playing with a ball literally made out of rags. So get this, his childhood nickname was Crybaby. Why? Because he literally burst into tears if his team didn't win. Now you might hear that and think, wow, what a sensitive kid. But you'd be missing the point. That wasn't weakness. That was the very first spark of an insane competitive fire. Even as a little kid, the pain of losing was so real to him that it became the fuel to make sure it never happened again. And this is where it gets really intense. At age 8, he's already at a local club, and that competitive streak is obvious to everyone. But the big one, the real crucible, is at age 12. He leaves his entire family behind to go to the sporting academy in Lisbon. Can you imagine that? At 12 years old, he's all alone, kids are making fun of his accent, he's miserable. But, and this is the key, he never quit. He never went home. That lonely, difficult period, that's what built the foundation for everything that came after. Okay, so Section 2, the ultimate goal machine. From raw talent to a ruthless finisher. He's got the mental armor, right? So now the question is, how did he turn that mental toughness into actual goals on the field? This part is all about his evolution from a flashy kid into an absolute predator. When he first shows up at Manchester United in 2003, people didn't know what to make of him. He was this skinny, flashy winger, a bit of a show pony, you know? All tricks and step-overs, but not a lot of end product. The talent was obviously there, but he was far from the goal-scoring machine we know today. But then, under the legendary Sir Alex Ferguson, something just clicked. A total metamorphosis. He basically lived in the gym, packed on muscle, and stripped his game down to its most effective parts. No more unnecessary tricks. It was all about efficiency, all about winning. By 2008, he had become the ultimate clutch player, the guy you give the ball to when everything's on the line. And of course, that's when he won his very first Ballon d'Or. And then he goes to Real Madrid. And so begins what might be the single greatest rivalry in the history of sports. For 9 solid years, the entire football world was basically the Messi war. You had Ronaldo at Real Madrid, the power athlete, engineered for perfection, and you had Messi at Barcelona, the natural-born genius. It was incredible. And look, this wasn't just some competition. This was the rocket fuel that pushed both of them into a totally different stratosphere. And if you want to see the results of that rivalry, just look at this stat. It's just impossible. 451 goals in 438 games for Real Madrid. I mean, that's more than a goal every single time he stepped on the field for 9 years at the absolute highest level of the sport. Honestly, those are video game numbers. That's not supposed to happen in real life. This is the period that cemented him as just a ruthless, relentless goal scorer. All right, Section 3, the science of a titan. We're talking about engineering the body for longevity. So here's the million-dollar question. How is he still doing this? How is he still playing at the top level in his late 30s when most players are long retired? The secret isn't on the pitch. It's in the lab. We're going to look at how he literally engineered his body to defy age. He has a name for it, of course, the CR7 methodology. And let's be clear, this is way beyond just eating your veggies and getting enough sleep. No, think of it like a high-performance system. He treats his body like a biological laboratory, not just a vessel. Every single thing is measured, tracked, and optimized. He's basically a Silicon Valley biohacker, but for football.
So what's the code behind this operating system? Well, it breaks down into 3 core parts. First, the nutritional fortress. We're talking no sugar, no alcohol, no processed foods, period. It's a fortress. Second, the sleep revolution. The guy doesn't just sleep 8 hours, he reportedly takes 5 separate 90-minute naps a day for optimal recovery. And finally, and this might be the most important part, the anti-fragile ego. You see, when people criticize him, it doesn't break him. It literally makes him stronger. He uses all that hate as fuel for his next villain arc. And if you want to see this commitment in action, look no further than this moment. It's a press conference for the Euros. He sits down at the table, and right in front of him are 2 bottles of a very famous soda. He just looks at them, pushes them out of the shot, holds up his own bottle of water, and says one word, agua.
What happened next was absolutely insane. That one tiny gesture, that one word, reportedly caused a temporary multi-billion-dollar dip in that soda company's market value. Billions, with a B. I mean, if you ever needed a single example of his power and influence that goes way beyond football, well, this is it. Okay, final section, the blueprint of a legacy. More than an athlete, a global institution. So we've looked at the mind, the body, the science, but what does it all add up to? His legacy is so much more than just goals and trophies. We're talking about how one man completely changed the game, both the business and the culture of sports, forever.
Let's call it the Ronaldo effect. And you can really see it in 4 key areas. You've got his insane digital empire, the way he represents the idea of this self-made man, how he professionalized what it even means to be an athlete, and, of course, his power as a global market shifter.
I mean, let's just focus on that digital empire for a second. Why do all those people follow him? It's not just for football clips. His Instagram is basically the world's biggest TV channel, and it's broadcasting one single powerful message 24/7, the dream of the self-made man. He's selling this incredibly powerful idea that no matter where you start, you can get to the top with pure hard work and belief. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, his legacy is just massive. Think about it. He redefined how long an athlete's career can be. He proved that one person's brand can be bigger and more powerful than an entire league. He made insane discipline, diet, and sleep the new normal for the next generation. And yeah, with his move to the Middle East, he basically picked up the entire football world and shifted its center of gravity.
And really, if you want to boil his entire philosophy, his entire life, down to one sentence, this is it. Talent without hard work is nothing. That's not just some nice thing he says for the cameras. That is the core, guiding principle behind every single thing he does.
Which leaves us with one final big question to think about. Because when you look at the story of Cristiano Ronaldo, it really forces you to ask, is greatness a gift, something you're just born with? Or is it a choice? A choice you have to make every single morning when you wake up?